Installing your classic Camaro's rear tail lights. Let's get to it. What's going on, guys? Matt over here, Lethal Garage, and I apologize for the filthy, dirty hat. This is in my garage hat, so don't judge. But today we are installing tail lights on the Lethal Classic. Now on this side, I have them roughly in place, but today I want to go over the gaskets, how they're positioned. I want to go over the installation and everything basically but the wiring. The wiring will be separate in my wiring video, but for the most part, this will be mounting, installing, and getting your gaskets right, and how to get them to sit nice and flush without looking terrible or not having them tight enough so water can leak in, which you obviously don't want. First and foremost, we get to the lights. So in this instance, I'm using the United Pacific LED lights. I did opt for the setup that is the normal brake light with flashers and blinker, and then the reverse light with flashers, blinker, and hazards for the center, etc. As far as the gaskets go, I forget the company that makes them, but I've heard a lot of complaints from OER. I bought some OER gaskets. They didn't fit all that amazingly. I went on the forums and found out about this company and bought these gaskets. They went on really easily and they look really good. So I'll put a link down below in the description. I have to look up the receipt, but I'll put it down there for you to find it. As far as the actual gasket placement, it's pretty self-explanatory. The single tab gasket goes on the inside light. So this is the left-hand fixture. That single tab just drops right in here. You're good to go. There's no humps or bumps. It's a pretty circular standard gasket. As far as the left-hand side, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's two different ones. One that has the big hump and the small hump, and the small hump's on the left side, and then you basically have the mirror version that goes on the right-hand side. The big hump goes up on the top, the small hump goes to the left-hand side, or if on the right-hand side. And this one will typically have two little tabs, and these are more positioning tabs. They're not going to line up with the tab marks in the housing, but it's pretty straightforward. Let's get to putting them in. Once you have the gasket, you'll kind of notice it wants to like cave in. It's kind of at its edge, and what has to happen is this needs to sit flat on here, and we're going to have to do a little due diligence when we do the install. I found a little finishing tool that's plastic, so you're not going to mar and mess up your paint of your vehicle. Will work out really well to push this gasket into the right positioning, but I'll show you how to do that here once we get the actual whole housing in position. Now your vehicle should come with little tabs. There's going to be one tab on either side and two tabs in the center up top, and then you'll need these little fastening nuts, kind of like your hash markers that are going to go on there to hold this all in place. So we're going to go ahead and just gently put this in place so our gaskets don't fall off, because it's really annoying when that happens. And then we'll thread those in position. And before we overly tighten them, we're going to guide these gaskets into position from the outside to make sure that they're hugging this inside lip right in here, so they fit, press, and are firm against the inside body of the vehicle and create a nice tight seal. So as far as the install goes, the tabs are pretty easy. Again, you want to make sure that your rubber gaskets don't fall off, but I always like to try to line up the centers. Now the problem is on my right hand side, I would have showed you both sides, but my right hand side, the peg up on the top center is broke off, and this one right here, and it's really annoying, but I made it as tight as I could around the other three, and I'm going to see if I can work around some issues on this side. Here, I'm going to leave that there just to show you that it stays, but you can see on this side there's just not enough peg for that screw to grab onto, unfortunately. So these ones are all nice and tight. We got the wires hanging here, so we have access to them, but this side here is perfect. I have plenty of tab and everything. So now for the fun part. So as I mentioned earlier, you get the, and I'm gonna see if I can get my camera at the right angle, but you can see the issue already right here. So see the gasket, remember how I was telling you it wants to collapse in? This needs to be on the inside ledge of the car. Now, typically what I would recommend doing is tightening the two outside ones first, which I'm gonna do real quick, and then I'll show you how I push these in so they're in the right spot. And I hate the fact that GM made these like plastic and push on and self-threading, and it's really annoying, but it is what it is. So these are 7/16. Again, just getting them started, not getting it all the way tight. And during this install, you're never gonna put it too tight, because if you do, you run the risk of stripping it. And I kind of have to try to push the gasket in place to get this this backside one in place. I found having an extension helps out tremendously. And apologies, I guess I could probably put my camera inside so you could see what I'm doing, but you guys get the gist. Where is it? There you are. I got it to grab. Perfect. So the two outside ones are in position, and now you can see I'm just using my tool, and I'm gonna force this gasket to the outside edge of the housing, so that way it sits nice and flush. And this is just about there already. They're all, it's pretty good, but you can see that lip right here. You want the gasket on the inside of that lip. I see a lot of guys driving around with their gaskets poking out or on the inside of, or you know, where you can see it in the lip. That's wrong. You don't want to do it that way. Now we can go back in, put the center two on, and tighten it all down, and we'll just verify again that that gasket's in the right spot and get them nice and snug. So as you can see, the gasket's in there nice and tight, creating a nice watertight seal. You shouldn't get any leakage. Now, what I would recommend is pour some water along the back side of your vehicle to see if water is leaking in. Put some towels in the bottom. You'll know right away if water's coming in. You can then check to see if you have your bolts on tight enough. If they're as tight as they're gonna go, you can go as far as putting some seam sealer or even some silicone on the bottom side just to keep the water through. Like, these gaskets aren't always guaranteed watertight, unfortunately, but in most cases they're good. So in that instance, we got both sides in, looking really good. And man, we have a back end of a Camaro right now. Now, I didn't want to close off this video without addressing some of the wiring. Now in this instance, this kit has a direct plug-and-play setup that will plug right into the factory adapters, tuck right in, and be good to go. This light has the option to be tied in for other functionality. You don't have to use all of its functionality, but you can, but you'll have to tie these into your primary wiring, and they outline what all of these items are in their manual. If you guys missed my United Pacific unboxing and checking out the actual lights themselves, I highlight what each wire does in that video there. So check it out. I'll put a link in the upper right hand corner. But there you have it. Rear lights are installed, our tail lights are installed on the Lethal Classic, and we're another step checked off on the vehicle to get her done. I don't know if it's me or if it's just been a long process already, but I find these small little wins. They're small items. Taillights are not a big, huge accomplishment in getting done on your car, but I find these small wins in getting your car assembled to be a huge morale booster. Really makes the car come to life and take shape. I can't wait till we get all the wiring in position and we can light these bad boys up. I mean, give me a break. We don't even have pedals to hit the brakes or that kind of stuff yet. I mean, I have them, but they're not hooked up. So there's a ton to do on the Lethal Classic, but hopefully you guys found this video somewhat helpful. If you guys are in the midst of a Classic, let me know in the comments below what you're doing, where you're at, why you changed your lights out, or you know, just where you're at in your restoration build or project itself. Either or, I definitely appreciate you guys checking out the content. Look for tons of 1971 on up content, or technically 70 through 81, because a lot of it does apply. Hit subscribe, and yeah, either or. Thank you for checking out the video, and until next time, see you on the road.